Hi, I'm Bernice Degwa, and welcome to Montclair News Lab. Here's what's coming up on this week's episode. In the final week of the campaign, we take a look at the blitz of Democrats visiting New Jersey as the margins between the candidates narrow in the governor's race.
There's a chance if we don't turn out and vote, and I know you will, that these guys could steal this one from us.
If you watch my campaign really closely, I'm not into endorsements. I'm not into other people campaigning for me. People see right through those kind of things. I go out and meet and greet with the people in New Jersey every day of the week.
Then, Focus Disruption, our one-year-long look at how the world has changed since March 2020. Important conversations you won't want to miss.
Eventually, the stuff that's fake gets accepted as a whole truth.
There's a big shift towards remote in those industries and sectors where working remote is feasible.
Later, we get you ready for Halloween with a special report on why that flashy costume may be hurting the environment and what you can do about it.
I would definitely go thrifting next year for my Halloween costume.
Your school, your news. All this and more on Montclair News Lab. As Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli closes the gap between himself and Governor Phil Murphy, high-profile Democrats such as President Joe Biden, former President Barack Obama, and Vice President Kamala Harris all came to the Garden State. News Lab reporter Carter Winter reports.
President Joe Biden was in North Plainfield and Kearny, New Jersey this week, both to push his ambitious domestic agenda, as well as to throw his support to Governor Phil Murphy in the race for New Jersey governor.
Everyone here today, especially Governor Murphy, thank you for showing us what's possible.
His visit followed Vice President Kamala Harris, who spoke at Montclair State University just 2 weeks ago. The current president and VP aren't the only high-profile Democrats who have made a North Jersey appearance. Last weekend, former President Barack Obama visited Weequahic Park in Newark. The New Jersey gubernatorial election is less than a week away, and the polls have never been closer. The first public polls in late June showed a 15% margin in favor of incumbent Governor Murphy in the race against Jack Ciattarelli. Since then, this 15% margin has dropped to just 6% according to an Emerson College Pix 11 poll.
This thing is a coin toss.
This same poll revealed that 7% of New Jersey voters are still undecided, 59% of which are leaning towards Ciattarelli versus 41% for Murphy.
Well, there's a chance if we don't turn out and vote, and I know you will, that these guys could steal this one from us.
As the election inches closer, both candidates have been taking the steps that they believe to be most effective.
That's what Phil's done. And now he's running to keep that momentum going.
Seasoned journalist John Alter told Montclair News Lab his thoughts on their campaign strategy.
The voters of New Jersey know that Governor Phil Murphy has the full support of the Biden administration. And that's just, old-fashioned politics. Like you have the back of people in your party.
Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli, however, has taken a different approach.
If you watch my campaign really closely, I'm not into endorsements. I'm not into other people campaigning for me. People see right through those kind of things. I go out and meet and greet with the people in New Jersey every day of the week.
Ciattarelli is confident that his strategy is effective.
I go out there and campaign on my own. I'll win my own election.
Woo! We will elect Phil Murphy again.
2 candidates, a hard-fought race, and the potential to make history. For Montclair News Lab, I'm Carter Winter.
Every year, students at the School of Communication and Media here at Montclair State pick a topic for our focus, a collaboration between student media organizations. We've done immigration, racial justice, climate change, and more. This year, we picked the topic of disruption and how society is handling changes to, everything due to the pandemic, from how we work to our mental health. We have our Focus Disruption kickoff on November 17th, streaming on all our sites. We start with a series of conversations that my co-anchors are having with thought leaders on disruption. In a few minutes, we'll hear from Feliciano School of Business professor Dr. David Axelrod on changes in the workplace. But first, Keyshawn Reese sits down with media ethics expert and School of Communication professor Jamie Bedrin to talk about misinformation.
What are some of the points of misinformation?
We talk a lot about creating a big, bold lie, right? It's a lie that is so outrageous that nobody would actually believe it. And yet people do. To take and to sort of like wrap it around a tiny nugget of truth. And the idea there is that there is something for people to latch on to. There's like a truthful element, and then eventually the stuff that's fake gets accepted as a whole truth. Fake news is actually a real thing. There are people in other countries who are creating fake news. They make money off of it. Some of the folks that are creating some of the fake news are getting better and better at creating work that looks more real. Unfortunately, our previous president, talked about legitimate news sources and news organizations and called them fake news, thus confusing the issue.
Do some of these points relate to COVID?
Any vulnerabilities, any social divisions, and that you emphasize those divisions, and you can make people lose trust in each other. And we see that with this whole idea of whether or not people want to take the vaccine, sort of like fighting two viruses at the same time. Here we're fighting COVID, and we're also fighting disinformation. And the example I'm thinking of specifically is that the vaccine could impact fertility, and it's not true. It's untrue.
Did the events that happened on January 6th have to do with misinformation?
Disinformation and misinformation and fake news are not brand new, but the impact, since social media is just, it's hard to measure. It's just, massive. And they also, are taking a message and spreading it. So it's a combination. Absolutely, disinformation plays a role, but I think there are other things at play there too.
So how can we come together to stop the spread of misinformation?
Just like we educate people from a young age about the dangers of smoking, for example. But I also think there's something to be said about going back into history and looking at the history of fake news and the history of sensational journalism. And, because this is not new. It's happening in new ways. You cannot, always trust everything that you see on social media, and that you have a responsibility to check your sources. And if something doesn't seem right, do a little bit more work. Our kids are using devices at a younger and younger age. We need to make sure they're getting the proper education.
So I'm here with Dr. David Axelrod from the Feliciano School of Business. So we really wanted to talk about how our places of work have really changed since the pandemic. Looking forward, it's completely different, right?
Yes. There's a big shift towards remote in those industries and sectors where working remote is feasible, right? I mean, there are plenty of jobs like, if you're working in meat packing or farming, you don't have a remote option.
Yeah, for sure. And that remote option, it's going to affect everything, the company cultures, the rat race into cities, things like that. Changing topics a little bit. Generation Z, we've seen even before the pandemic, has had something different than we saw with millennials and generations beforehand, in which older generations used to stick with one company because they felt involved in that. Like, oh, I work for Amazon, that's my company. I work for a university, that's my place, and I want to keep moving up. Do you think with all of these new changes to the way that we work, are people going to continue staying at one place, or will they be jumping around from business to business? And how does that affect everyone overall?
Okay, probably since mid-late 1980s, that has already been occurring. So you'd have to go back to much older generations, to have that kind of relationship. For many companies, if they know that you value the stability of staying where you are, they can monetize that by not offering you as much of a pay raise, right? Because the idea is that in order to take advantage of moving to another company to get, better pay, is costly. On the other hand, I would say with the younger generations now, they're already living in that shifted world, right? There is an understanding that you're going to be working for 7, 8, maybe 10 different companies in your lifetime, possibly more. But once you're at that, it's just a built-in parameter in your career path. And so that helps accelerate the breakdown of loyalty between employer and employee. That may be difficult to get back.
Now that the pandemic is dying down, of course, we might see waves of it coming and going, but we're pretty much back to the new normalcy that we've been looking forward to.
Right.
What is the new normalcy? What can people expect now that we're going back to jobs? What can people expect 10 years down the line?
First of all, I think we can anticipate staying with more remote work. Okay, there are some very big efficiencies there. I think businesses and possibly government as well is going to adapt by recognizing that this is not a one-off thing. There are likely to be other kinds of pandemics going forward. And even if it's not a viral pandemic, there are going to be other crises, right? There's going to be effects from climate change. I mean, you can imagine what would happen if New York City got really flooded again.
So overall, a huge change to our economy and a huge change to many people's way of life. Dr. David Axelrod, thank you so much for joining us here on Montclair News Lab.
Halloween is just around the corner, and what a great time to go buy that crazy costume. But as Amaya Gresham reports, it comes with a hidden cost.
The best part about Halloween is getting to play dress up. While millions of people around the world celebrate this spooky holiday, not many realize the impacts of their Halloween getup on the environment. Every year, millions of people rush out to stores to complete their spooky looks, while some people even buy multiple costumes. The term fast fashion refers to low-priced, trendy clothing produced in bulk. The fast fashion industry makes up about 92 million tons of waste and is the second largest polluter of clean water around the world. Most people shop for pieces from places like Amazon, Shein, and Forever 21, and while they're extremely affordable, they're poorly made, use toxic dyes, and are derived from cheap labor. I went around campus asking students about their Halloween plans with the hope that I could help spread the word about the impact of fast fashion and Halloween. Could you tell us a little bit about your plans this Halloween?
Yeah, this Halloween I'm planning to go out Friday and Saturday night.
I'm gonna be going to parties Saturday and Sunday at my friend's house.
What are you dressing up as?
I was gonna be Rihanna, or I was gonna be like Mother Earth, like in the 70s. A cowboy, and then another night a Powerpuff Girl.
And where did you purchase your costumes?
I purchased them on Forever 21.
Shein.
Fashion Nova.
Do you know that more than 50% of fast fashion clothes will be discarded within 1 year of purchase thanks to fast-moving trends?
I didn't really know the numbers. No, I didn't.
I had no idea.
A great alternative to this next year would be to thrift your costumes or to incorporate pieces from home.
I would definitely go thrifting next year for my Halloween costume.
Help save the earth and buy your costume secondhand. Thrift stores offer higher quality alternatives that can be worn time and time again. I went to my local thrift store to see what I could come up with. While looking, I tried to find cute, durable pieces that would also make a great addition to my everyday wardrobe. Make sure to go in with an open mind and don't be afraid to ask for help. It's also a good idea to think about pieces that you already have at home to incorporate into your costume. Thrifting tricks and treats this Halloween. For Montclair News Lab, I'm Amaya Gresham.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Montclair News Lab, on TikTok at montclair.newslab, and check out our website, montclairnewslab.tv, for more. I'm Bernice Dagua. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week for a brand new episode. We leave you with the recent Filipino Pride event on campus, hosted by the Montclair United Filipino American Student Association. At the event, students participated in traditional Filipino dances and party games.